I am the Yapatron 9000. This is the manhwa, The Greatest Estate Developer, and I have been waiting patiently to do a yap about this one. This is a complete series. It's done. You can read the entire 222 chapters right now, and it all starts with this image. This is the perfect summarization of the entire story, and probably one of the best examples of a single panel saying way more than it lets on. First, let's study the composition of this panel, right? There's a wide open field, lush, green, fenced in by some mountains deep in the background. A small river runs right through it, so it's a fertile valley. Then, anchoring the panel at the bottom are 6 figures, a man holding a shovel, another man holding a flag, and 4 tiny little creatures. They all have their backs to us, as if saying, the valley is what's really important. Notice that the valley itself takes up 2/3 of this panel. This is to let you know that the land is what's important here. It is just such a good panel. We get some narration and a name, Suho Kim, the man holding the shovel. We also get a close-up of the cute little creatures we saw previously. They all seem to be saying something we don't quite understand yet. And then the narration corrects itself by telling us that in the world he's currently in, his name is Lloyed Frontera, and he's our main character. Also notice he said in this world. So it's an isekai. Lloyd slams his shovel into the dirt and a grid appears underneath him, like a video game. The grid expands to cover the entire valley. He says this is the story of how an average civil engineering student turned the world upside down. And boy, did these words not disappoint. We get to meet our other main character, Javier. He works for Lloyd. And then immediately, all of the strong emotions of strength and hope go out the window when he says it's all for money and makes a wicked face. We're going to get so used to these faces. Oh, the faces the man will make. I cannot wait to read this again. But before we go any further, let's travel back in time a few years and get a status screen. There are so many manhwas that rely on this plot device. This is just one of them. Now the screen says that we have been chosen to have a random wish granted by something called the Absolute. And then we get an ultra patronizing clap, clap. And we see Lloyd laying on the dirt, drooling as he is told he's a character in a book called Night of Blood and Iron. Lloyd, well, he's still technically Suho Kim, as of right now, is confused, talking about how he just read that book. And then the screen patronizes him again. And then he breaks the fourth wall and wonders what led him to being face down on the ground. Lloyd slaps the status screen as it continues to mock him. Just what kind of absolute cheekiness is this? But as he ponders, Javier steps in and we learn that he's actually the protagonist of the story. So then, just what is Lloyed Frontera to him? We get some quick backstory about the book and learn that this is the small countryside that Javier starts in before his grand journey, and that Suho is the hooligan eldest son Lloyed Frontera, which we know. But it's fun to see his over-the-top expression as he realizes it for the first time. Javier likes that he called himself a hooligan, and we quickly learn why Javier feels that way, as he explains that Lloyd got drunk, threw a fit, and passed it. I love this dialogue as Javier is loyal but doesn't mince his words. He never holds back exactly what he's thinking, and it's one of the best parts about who he is throughout the entire story. Lloyd recollects reading the final chapter of the story, that his family loses their estate, and that the character he's playing drinks himself to death. Look at the blood rainbow! What a way to go! We get to meet Lloyd's mother, Marbella, and she looks cold, like she's sick of putting up with him. She asks him to go back and apologize for the first time in his life. And he responds saying he will, which completely shocks the two of them. I love the screen's description of the people's reactions. It really likes to be cheeky towards Lloyd. Now, Lloyd has quite the imagination, as this is the imagery he conjures when thinking about living a comfortable life as a noble. And look, a cute little bee. It approves. And then Lloyd learns he has skills. This is so good. Javier has an intuition of gold, as he immediately knows that Lloyd is acting as if he's a completely different person. And he's right to be suspect, as Lloyd apologizes sincerely. Look at the reaction of the bar owner. That's the reaction Lloyd truly creates. And Lloyd quickly realizes he can't just transform that fast. He needs to be a bit ruder for people to understand that he's being sincere. Javier tells Lloyd that the pub owner's mother is sick after last winter, and so what he did to the bar is really rough on that owner. Lloyd thinks about what he saw and how a single fireplace can't handle a building of that size. And for the second time in this story, he talks about ondels. And then he stops in realization of how he can change his fate with this. Lloyd goes on to think about how in his past life he was a civil engineer. He's built a house from scratch. He's done work at construction sites. All things the real Lloyd has never even thought to do. And this is the crux of the story. Using engineering to make money! It's just like real life. Then the status screen activates and says he's finally really started his adventure, and tells him about the relationship points which he can earn by being friends with the other main characters. He looks at Javier's approval rating, and it's in the negative. Lloyd tries to sweet talk Javier's approval, and it backfires spectacularly. Lloyd whips up a contract for construction and tells the bar owner favorable terms, but it's all so sudden for the bar owner. He doesn't believe a word Lloyd says. He even uses a skill to keep Lloyd away. So Lloyd realizes he needs to keep up the hooligan act, and it works. And the status screen calls him out for it. We get our first foray into Lloyd's skills as he demonstrates how to build a building. And it looks like he's really good at it and quick to do all of it until he flops to the ground in exhaustion while cursing his weak body. Javier comments on how it didn't take that long and breaks the fourth wall under his breath. Only 3 cuts, or rather panels. And Lloyd yells, "It took a week," which in my mind is still pretty fast when doing it by hand. Lloyd is beat and can't swing the axe, so Javier takes over, tosses the wood in the air, and slices them clean as the protagonist of the story would. But not to miss an opportunity, Lloyd tries to conscript Javier into doing some digging with him, and this angers him. But I notice his approval rating of Lloyd didn't decrease. That's because it's within his expectations of Lloyd. Lloyd convinces Javier to help, and they finally complete the ondel. Then Javier notices something on the house, and Lloyd says it's his logo. They turn on the ondel, and the people love it. Huge success. Javier notices that they're truly happy, and his approval rating goes up by 2 whole points. It's the highest we've seen it since we started, and it's still very much in the negative. This is going to take a while. Well, 200 chapters while. Lloyd's trying to do business by selling ondels to everyone when his father shows up. Oh, and he has an approval of -20. Also, this just popped into my head. Why didn't we get to see his mom's approval rating? Lloyd gained some relationship points after having gained some approval from Javier. he asks the screen how to use them, and it answers. They're really in a toxic relationship. It scans him and lists all sorts of skills that he possesses based on his civil engineering background, his past life. Then it insults him to our glee. Finally, it offers him 2 skills that will cost all his points, surveying and design, and he accepts them without hesitation. Lloyd's skill activates, and it's a great way to show the reader exactly how they work without getting into too much detail. But once he's done learning about his skills, he wishes that there was a way to get some heavy machinery, and the screen says it can help there too. It's a gotcha game to summon loyal partners. But it's too expensive for him right now, and he realizes just how important relationship points are to his survival, which means he needs the main characters to like him to survive so he can make more money. Will Lloyd be able to prove to everyone that he's changed? Can he gain their trust and approval, giving him the relationship points he needs to save his family's estate? Are we going to get to see him make an unimaginably large amount of silly faces? All this and more when you read it for yourself. You really have to. The Great Estate Developer is just one of the best, a true gem that takes us on a wild ride of action, adventure, civil engineering, and human nature. There is no way you should miss this one. And as such, I give it 6 out of 5 agreeing bees. Remember, don't lack on farming approval points from your friends and family. They love you. Cheers.